Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Thursday, 21st September 2023, and we are with our webinar in this particular series on a new topic with a new guest for the evening, and that is Mr. Raj Sadhukan ji. He is a principal of Institute of Hotel Management, IHM, Kolkata, and he is with us today to talk about HR best practices in service industry. And I would like to tell every one of you that this particular webinar is being powered by Digital Inspirational Lab, making education and skills relevant, along with Feast Here, Forum of Educators and Skill Providers of Tourism, Hospitality, Events, Research, and Entrepreneurship. And our hospitality partner for this is Hotel Sandy Star, Bhubaneswar, Odisha. So without wasting any time, we straight away goes to Sri Raja Sadhukan ji and talk to him, know more about him, his journey with this particular industry, and at the same time about the topic HR best practices in service industry. So put your hands together for a warm welcome to our honorable guest for the evening. A very good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening, Ms. Kapoor. Thank you so much for the introduction. So I'll brief about myself.
Yes, sir.
My journey in the hospitality industry is almost for 3 decades, that is almost 30 years. So I'm a pass out of Institute of Hotel Management, Kolkata. I graduated in 1994, post which I started working as a chef at the Park Hotel, Kolkata. Then an opportunity had come for me to serve Institute of Hotel Management, Kolkata as a lecturer. So I taught food and beverage service and food production for long 11 years before I again moved back to the main industry with Taj Hotels. So I joined Taj Hotels in 2008 as the learning and development manager and was heading a couple of properties there. After 3 years stint with learning and development, I moved to human resources as the human resources head for Taj Ganges Varanasi. And then from Varanasi, I was then appointed as the human resources head for Taj Lake Palace, Udaipur. Then had the opportunity to work at Taj Swarna, Amritsar, which incidentally I was the part of the pre-opening team. And after a stint at Taj Swarna, Amritsar, I was then posted at my hometown, which is Kolkata, with Taj City Center and Taj Talgutir, where again I was in a cluster role, taking care of both the properties as human resources head. Post my almost a stint of about 16 years with Taj Hotels, I again had the opportunity of serving my alma mater, that is Institute of Hotel Management, Taratala, Kolkata, as the principal. So understanding it will be again,
Yeah.
connecting back to the roots and giving back to the community. I took up this job as a principal for this institution and took my role as nation building. So that's in brief
Great.
about my
Great.
journey in hospitality.
Great. This is a wonderful journey that you have just told us. And it's a fortune, sir. I believe that where you have started, you have got an opportunity to work there also.
That's correct.
Ji. So moving ahead to the topic for today, sir, we would like to have an insight for the best HR practices in service industry.
Right. Thank you. I think this is one of the very relevant topic for today's discussion, and it also finds relevance because human resource plays a key importance in hospitality industry. We can imagine a lot of other industry without manpower or without the golden touch of human beings, but this particular industry, which is hospitality, where from the way you are spoken to over a phone to the way you are greeted at the reception, to the way you are escorted to the room or to a restaurant and served food and bid goodbye. At every touch points, you need a person to be present there with a gracious smile to make feel the guest warm and welcomed. So let us discuss why human resources is an important department first, and then what are the best practices of human resources relevant to the service industry.
Right.
First, let us see and imagine an organization without a human resources department. If you talk to people, they say, "What do HR do? They only process salary or they hire people." See, HR is a very thankless job, and there are, if you look to the HR fraternity, you'll find people are actually, you know, completely bogged down with their work because there is tremendous paperwork that we need to do in updating and maintaining your files and processing data and records for keeping your salaries. But then we also try to organize some games for you, entertain you, right? And you feel that that's only is the HR role or HR goal in any industry. Just to
Right.
hire, keep people entertained, maybe once or twice we take you for picnic, and that's it.
Mhm.
But the real essence of HR, right? Because I was with the Taj Hotels, and it is the world's strongest brand. It
Ji.
comes from the people. A good HR department will ensure multiple things. The first thing which it will ensure is it is your guardian in that organization. So why I'm calling the HR department as guardian, because for every little details or every queries that we have, we only land up to the HR department asking, how do I do it? Or what is this? Can you explain this to me?
Mm.
For example, your appointment letter, let's say, the nitty gritties of the appointment letter, who can explain better than the HR department? They do it, right? So let's talk about the HR functions and how the HR functions in a good organization and what can be the best practices. The first and foremost function in HR, we say, is recruitment, right? How we recruit? We recruit by putting an ad. Sources can be internal. So we put an internal ad. There are certain organizations and they have multiple offices. So you have internal ads being circulated for recruitment. Or if you have external sources for hiring, you put an external ad. You put it in newspaper, you put it in various social media platforms which are very common like LinkedIn, right? And other job sites, and you hire talents and you attract talents and you hire them, right? In HR, how do we hire? See, my philosophy of seeing things is we hire for attitude and we train for skills. No matter how much you train a person or educate a person at an institution, there will always be a service gap, a skill gap when he goes to the industry. So when I was an HR manager, my first lookout for a person was whether the person was well groomed. How about his communication skills, if he's being able to communicate, if he was confident, and whether he possessed the correct attitude. If these were there, for me, it was enough to pass him as a hiring person, that he is fit for hire. And then, of course, my HOD and my general manager, and being a very seasoned HR manager with the organization, whatever I had suggested, it was always taken positively, and people were actually hired immediately upon my suggestion. So, again, I will repeat, we should, as I told you, it is my philosophy,
Ji.
hire for attitude and train for skills, because no matter how experienced the person is, there always will be some skill gaps, because the person who is hired is coming to your organization and will be trained to the skill and mindset of that organization. He has to accept and adapt to the culture of the organization. So to accept and adapt the culture of the organization, the person should have the right attitude, right?
जी,
So that's how we hire. After hiring, what happens? One of the HR best practices on the first day itself, when he
जी,
joins, all his documentations are done with ease. So for
हम्म,
which, if you have to send the documentations, whatever verifications are required, whatever experience certificates are required beforehand, so that the candidate can come prepared on the date of joining with all the experience letters, experience certificates, and police verification if required, or anything that he requires to submit before joining, it is absolutely crystal clear. And he comes to your premises. One of the best way of receiving him is, as you know, it is being done welcoming him in the lobby of the hotel or at the main porch, so that you give him a warm welcome and the person feels nice. And you not only welcome yourself as the HR person, but you also coordinate, and maybe the other eminent HODs, the general manager or the manager in charge can be there to welcome the person, making him feel absolutely comfortable. And then you take him to a dining area. It can be a coffee shop, it can be your in-house employee dining area also, which we roughly say as cafeteria, where you offer him a cup of coffee and make that person absolutely comfortable and at home. That is one of the important HR practices. And then once he is comfortable, you talk out, ask how he has come, whether he has faced any inconvenience, how is he feeling, if he is comfortable, because he has a tension of joining. He was carrying a lot of documents. So naturally, we need to make him comfortable. And once he is comfortable, then you get all the paperwork done with an ease and do it immediately. On the first day itself, we should ensure that he gets his lockers, he gets his name badges, he gets his attire if possible, the uniform if possible. So he knows that this is what he's getting. So he gets all that is required so that they can be on the shop floor next day. But another HR good practice is we will have to induct the person properly. And that, depending on the various organization, we have an induction module which talks about the organization culture, the organization environment, the organizational hierarchy, and various policies of the organization, right? And then it comes to the department specific induction. And then the managers, HOD, general managers brief them, meets them. We spend about 3 days, 4 days of time so that he is absolutely comfortable, and then place him on the shop floor. So that's about recruitment and onboarding and the best HR practices. So from the day one, we'll have to create a buy-in that this organization where he has joined is homecoming for him.
right,
He needs to be attached with a mentor who will handhold that person. If he's a fresher, 100% it is required to be handled by a seasoned supervisor or a seasoned manager who will teach him the skills and all the process and the policies of that organization. If he's an HOD, the general manager himself has to handhold so that the person knows what exactly he has to follow. We have to create people as supervisors, managers who are actually role models, and then they actually are trained to become a mentor. We cannot just abruptly put a person as a mentor. So another HR best practice is to groom existing employees who have experiences as mentors, so that whenever there is a new joiner, the person is made absolutely comfortable. And the more comfortable the person is, more loyal he would be to the organization. The more loyal the person is, the more the number of years he will stick to the organization. And that makes the life of a manager very easy if your employees are sticking to the organization. Nowadays, loyalty is something which is bought by money. So an organization giving you money higher than what you're being paid for, most of the people will try to go there. So if you have to retain your people, because you have taken a lot of efforts in searching out the right talent, in today's world, getting a right talent, right fit for the job role is very difficult. And once you have the right talent, to hold on to that talent is even more challenging as a manager,
yes,
as a supervisor, as an HOD.
जी,
So we'll have to collectively ensure that the person is given the environment, engagement, training, support, equipment so that he is comfortable. Next, let us look on the employee life cycle and see what are the best HR practices which can be there.
जी.
The employee comes to work. The employee comes to work. What does he need? He has to come to work with the transportation.
Mhm.
So, can we provide him transportation? Can we bring him from home to the workplace? Is that a possibility?
जी.
Many organizations they do it because there are certain organizations which are remotely placed for where they keep buses or cabs and they pick up the employees from a certain point and then they get them to the office, which can be
जी.
done. So they are comfortable. Else, if they're coming on their own, we'll have to ensure if they're coming on their own vehicle, we'll have to give them parking areas, right? If they're coming on a two-wheeler, four-wheeler, right? We have to ensure they come and can park their vehicles safely. Then, once they're inside, the first thing they should be given is a locker area to change. The locker should be neat, clean, not smelling, absolutely. There should be a lot of fresh air. It should be cooled, air conditioned if possible, right? The locker room, the toilet should be clean, sanitized. And we know we have passed through COVID. So it
Mhm.
is very important that we have these areas hygienically cleaned. So he comes in or she comes in, goes to the locker, changes. So he needs or she needs a set of attire which fits to that person properly,
जी.
changes, comes out, steps in, goes to the employee dining area, employee dining room. Maybe I have a glass of water, a cup of tea, and then reports to the shop floor. So these are very basic things, but when we have a good HR resource in place, they become very important, a talk
जी.
point for all the employees. You must have heard a lot of employees saying, "अरे लॉकर इतना गंदा है, कैफेटेरिया में खाना बहुत खराब है."
Mhm.
So what happens is, these are very basic things, and they are my fellow colleagues, and we must ensure as a HR fraternity that these are available. They're not asking for a gala dinner or gala lunch every day, but whatever food and meal that you're serving, ensure that it is served sumptuously, it is tasty, it is served hygienically, and available for everybody. It should not get over after a certain time.
जी.
The uniform that we provide them should be hygienically done, ergonomically designed. The materials that we use, they should be able to wear that because they have to spend 9 hours, 10 hours, maybe a little longer in that uniform. They should be comfortable. The uniform should be comfortably stitched, right? They should be tailored properly so that they fit in to the person and the person looks presentable in that uniform. Secondly, we'll have to provide, if required, a grooming kit to the employees, maybe a shaving razor, for the ladies, maybe a makeup kit, so that they can properly groom themselves before they present to the shop floor. Then one of the important HR practice is the training and the employee engagement that happens. So a particular person now is being trained on shop floor skills. He is kept engaged. He knows these are the things he needs to learn in this period of time. It cannot be endless. So I give him 10 tasks, and the 10 tasks he has to acquire within 3 days. If he learns, then I do a test for him. I
जी.
check whether he has learned, and if there is a scoring. If he scores more than 90%, I appreciate him immediately and give him some more tasks. So that slow bit and pieces learning will also keep him engaged, and he will look forward to every day coming and learning something. For an experienced person, what happens? He is a mentor, he or she is a mentor now. And if he is mentoring a person, that the challenge remains that the person who is given him as a trainee, his performance or her performance is also a performance for the mentor. So that is
Correct.
another HR practice where we appoint good mentors, mentors who are capable, and then we promote this position. If you are capable of mentoring, you are capable of becoming supervisor. And then if you are capable of becoming supervisor, that means your promotion is guaranteed. So a person should look forward to becoming a supervisor by how he treats people, how he behaves with people, how he trains people, how he engages people. So a supervisor should be a role model in terms of his grooming, in terms of his gait, in terms of his posture, in terms of his behavior, in terms how he gives respect to others. In hospitality parlance, we say mutual respect. That means respect is earned by giving respect. We cannot demand respect. We have to earn the respect of others, and it can only be done when we give respect to people, when you create a very conducive environment for learning and growth. So the person is now trained, the person learns his job, the person is on probation, the person completes his probation. If a person is competent enough, we confirm that person immediately. There's a period, for some organizations it is 6 months, for some organizations it's 1 year. So we confirm if we find him. If you do not find him competent, again, the HR, the supervisor, the HOD must call and speak to the person and guide that person time to time so that the person understands the flaws, the mistakes, or the areas of improvement. We have to carry each and every person along with us. I believe if people are there in an organization, they are there for a purpose. We cannot just hire and throw people. If we have hired a person, if you have hired a human resource, we have hired because of the possibilities, and we call it human possibilities. If that human possibility is not nurtured, trained well, not guided well, we are making sure that he fails. So, as supervisors, as mentors, we have to ensure that he is trained well. And if he's trained well, he's going to perform to the expectations of the organization. So once the person is confirmed and knows the job, what happens next? So then a very important HR practice is the appraisal system. So that appraisal system can be quarterly appraisal system, half yearly or yearly. But there has to be a constructive appraisal system where a supervisor or a manager sits down with the employee and speaks to him or her about the tenure. It can be 3 months tenure, it can be 6 months tenure, that particular period, and assesses on factual basis only, based on fact, based on his performance, his or her performance, not on anything else. So an appraisal system is put into place so that the person knows his or her strength and his or her areas of improvement. That appraisal system will also be on record with the HR department. And when now we are planning for the P&I cycle, which is promotional increment cycle, then that appraisal system is taken out. The appraisal is taken out and discussed again with the manager and HOD and found out whether this person is ready for the next level. So another HR practice is, which is very, very important, is succession planning and career planning of associates. So let me summarize a little bit because
Ji.
let us put this into perspective. I've hired a person, I've done his induction, I've conducted training for him, he's placed on the shop floor, he starts doing his routine job, he comes to the work, comes for his work every day, he has his own output. I, as a mentor, keep on guiding him, making him perfect. Then I keep on giving him tasks and I keep on appraising him, do the appraisals. And then he comes and tells me, sir, I am performing so well in my current role. What do you give me next? What challenges lies me? Can I take a supervisor's role? So then we assess him on the performance parameters on factual basis, and that's when we give him a promotion with an increment or only an increment depending on his performance. If we find that he is capable, then we do a promotion for him, and this is called the career planning for him. This is called the succession planning. So if I am making one person from an associate to a supervisor, his role and responsibility changes. Then who succeeds him? Then I have to take another person in his place. And then the person who was his supervisor, because this associate is becoming a supervisor, what is the career progression for the supervisor? Can I have two supervisors? Or when I'm making the associate a supervisor, I have to promote the supervisor to a manager. So this is called succession planning and career planning. So a good HR practice would be doing a career and succession planning for the entire organization. So you have this done. You will be blessed if you have multiple organizations under your belt, so that if you are not being able to promote a deserving candidate at that particular office, you might look into opportunities which are available in the other outlets, other offices, and then transfer that person if he is willing to take a transfer within that particular city or outside that city. That depends. So, after which, a very important aspect of HR practice is rewards and recognition. Every time when we engage with employees, we find out the moment of truth. They have made the guests customers, and the guests leaves feedback. So the guests, in most of the times, if you had a good memory, fond memory in service industry in particular, they will leave a positive feedback and also will mention the name of the person. How do we recognize that person? How do we make that person feel extra special? And how do we make an example out of that person so that others also will follow and say, yes, I would like to be like him or her? And that's why we reward and recognize the person. There can be some spot rewards. We can immediately, the HOD can give a, we call it a carrot card
Right.
or a talent card, where we write that he has an exceptional talent of making people happy or smile, right? And these can be cumulated and given to the HR office, where the person who gets the maximum carrot cards, maximum letter appreciation, can be named as the employee of the month and maybe given some reward for that, a certificate, a small gift, a token of appreciation, whichever way. So, reward and recognition should be the way of life. We should always reprimand in private. If somebody has done a mistake, the person should learn to own that mistake, never hide that mistake. And that can only come when the HR practices are good. When we do not reprimand in public, we do not humiliate people in public, we do not thrash people in public. We have to give them the confidence. If there has been a mistake, people are there behind him to support and get it sorted, make it corrected. And the person is rest assured that he can own this mistake. So if it's a serious mistake, of course, there will be a series of counseling and warnings, we understand. But if the mistake has been genuinely because of some ignorance, then he can be pardoned also. But coming out with the mistake itself will happen when you have a very friendly, working, conducive environment. So a person from HR, the HOD can create a very conducive working environment for people to open up and speak about their mistakes. And then, if they do a good job, praise in public, show display of affection in public. So we can organize something called town hall or in departmental briefings and meetings. Appreciate that person for whatever good jobs they have done. Give him the certificate, give him a chocolate at least, maybe a rose, a small gift. Appreciate them, engage them, celebrate their birthdays. They will always remember you. Send them a card. On their birthdays, you can send them a pickup. Send a card to their home. Pick them up. They will feel nice. Keep your people with you. Loyalty you have to get. Otherwise, if you lose this person who is deserving and well trained, the other person you have to search for, train again. It's a wastage of time and money. Next, we move to certain very basic things which I was talking about. So we are talking about employee attire, employee uniform, employee cafeteria,
Right.
employee accommodations. Certain organizations have policies of providing accommodations to the employees. Again, if you're not providing, it is fine. If you're providing something, ensure it is clean, hygienic, beds are comfortable. There is a kitchen set where people might go and want to cook something. So these are basic facilities which should be there. If you're not providing, it's absolutely okay. But if you're doing it, just don't give them floors to lie down and sleep. That is not a good practice in HR. Make your employees comfortable and happy. They will ensure your organization rise to glory. Then comes for the safety of the employees. What safety can we give them? We have to ensure medical safety. So we can organize some health camps for them, vaccination camps for them, and ensure they are healthy. We can have a doctor on call. If your organization is running all 7 days, at least have a one day when the doctor comes to the premises, or 2 days or 3 days, depending on how you can arrange this facility. And the employees can go to the doctor. If they have any illness, can show it to the doctor and get the medicine prescribed. So these are some basic facilities. Then one of the important and possibly the most important HR best practice is employee benefits and compensation. So first thing that comes in our mind is, what is our salary? How much do we earn? So we often compare our salary. My salary in the previous organization was this. Now it is only little hike and I've come here. Are we on the correct track? Whenever the salary has been discussed, salary is something which is very sensitive. So salary compensation packages, we call it, either a gross salary or a CTC with all the benefits. There should be all transparencies when you're discussing. Everything as a HR practice, we must speak to the people, ensure that the employees or the potential employees who we are seeking as a process of recruitment, they have a clear idea about what is their gross salary, how much they will have in hand post deductions, and what is their CTC, and what is their total compensation, what is the organizational benefits. For example, one of the organization benefit can be you have 20 days of privilege leaves and you have 50% discount on food and beverage products, right? So this can be one of the benefit. So if you're telling the employees that, in a year, you are entitled for 20 days of privilege leave and you have so much of short stuff that you're not being able to give that leave, what will happen? So we'll have to be very clear and specific. So this leave would also be there with you, but at the same time, you'll have to take a prior approval when you have to avail this. So keep a very transparent and clear communication. People should not think or assume certain things which you have not said. Later they will say, sir, you told me I'll be able to take 20 leaves, but they're not, my HOD is not giving leave. What should I do? Then that becomes an HR issue. So handle these are very sensitive things. Now let's come to the salary. Salary portion is extremely sensitive. People, when they talk about salary, they would actually want to know, mere haath mein kitna aa raha hai? How much is my take home?
जी,
So explain every bit of the salary components. As an HR person, we know how to draw a salary. We have basic salary, we have some allowances, we have DNS allowance, we have transport allowance, we have medical allowance, we have roped in a lot of allowances. So explain to him his entire salary structure, explain to him his statutory deductions, explain to him what would be a rough idea of how much he will be getting in hand. And always say that, this is what is a rough calculation. Of course, this will be system generated, or finally it depends on how many days of, in the month you work, and then I can give you a final payslip once you join and you work for a month. So be very transparent and be very sensitive. People leave organization if there was no transparency shown for benefits and compensation. It is important to ensure that these benefits are absolutely clearly explained. It is very important to ensure that their social security is in place. That means their PF, ESIC, some medical insurance, health insurance, medical benefits, they have been insured. These are one of the HR best practices to ensure that their social security is in place, right? So nowadays we have PF, we have ESICs. Some organizations they are taking up as NPS, National Pension Schemes, and they're ensuring that the social security is in place for them. So it is not only that you are working with a great organization, when you retire or you leave, you also have a large sum of money if you have worked with the organization for a longer tenure, which will help you sustain in your retired life. Then there is gratuity, then there is bonus, and the list is endless, right? So there are a lot of organizations who keeps you giving a lot of incentives, right? In forms of bonus, incentives. So suppose you can sell a higher category room, you take 5% of the difference in revenue. If you're being able to upgrade and sell a room, if you're being able to sell a bottle of wine, you're given maybe 2% of the amount. So all these incentives opt as a policy and can be given as a benefit. So these are very, very important aspects to be transparent. So all these that I've talked about, recruitment, onboarding process, employee welfare, employee engagement, employee appraisal cycles, employee compensation, is definitely part of all organizations. Now, what differentiates an organization from a greater organization?
Right.
The differentiation between two organizations, between a good organization and a great organization, is how a bigger and better organization gives back to the society, connects with the roots, connects with the communities, and gives back to the society, and how the organization involves their employees with what we say as social responsibilities. You go, don't do charity. If you have from inside a passion to serve human beings or serve disabled or serve even animals. There was a time when we had gone to some dog shelters because there are NGOs who run dog shelters. So if you are very passionate, if you're kind, and if you want to serve the community, your organization would create opportunities, environment, so that you can connect back with the communities and serve. Your act of kindness will be highly rewarded. It is not only monetary compensation, there will be a lot of blessings that you get from people, from good souls. Animals, if you're feeding, they might not be able to bless you lifting their paws, but somewhere, sometimes they will feel, and that pray, whatever in their language, will definitely be with you. That's what I personally feel. So be kind, be generous, be connected to the community. And that is one of the HR practices which is absolutely the best. When you connect to the community, even planting a tree is connecting to the community. Serving, going to our old age home is connected to the community. Attending certain seminars where you participate as participants or you teach them hygiene to school children is connecting to the community. So there are many aspects. You take up what is the best forte you have. If you wish to cook a meal going at an orphanage, do that. Do whatever comes from your heart and do it selflessly. I'm sure you're going to be rewarded. With that, I am open to questions
Yeah.
if you wish to ask me.
Thank you, sir. First of all, thank you very much that you have touched each and every aspect of HR practices. When we say the best ones, you have told us everything in detail. So thank you for that. Now, there are some questions to ask. First of all, sir, just appraise our guest that when we talk about HR, and specifically in service industry, because there are other industries also, but in specifically in service industry, the image building, the rapport building, making the popularity of a particular unit, it is very, very important as far as HR is concerned. So what, from the point of view of the HR, the person who is getting inside and getting the training, and from the point of view of the corporate also, or the employee who's taking, what should they do to get that HR making the best of the best image of your property or the hotel or any service industry unit?
It's a very important, pertinent question, and thank you for asking this question. I think once I am answering this question, it will clear the doubts if I have missed out on
Right.
this during this discussion. So HR is the face of the hotel. HR is the role model of the organization. So a HR manager, the way he stands, dresses, talks, communicates, smiles, spreads warmth, welcomes, makes people comfortable. He sets the culture of the organization. HR is the custodian of the culture of the organization. Through HR, through training, you actually instill culture of the organization amongst employees. So when we are talking about culture, if I'm talking about the heritage of the organization, the tradition of the organization, that is all done through HR and through training. So each person on the shop floor, if they have been recruited with the right mindset, if they have been given the right training, if they have been engaged properly, will always speak good, the positives of the organization. And that culture setting is done by the human resources department. We cannot say that HR has no role to play. HR is the department which ensures the cultural setting of that organization. It can build the culture, it can ruin the culture. A HR manager, what do you expect of an HR manager? How should he? He has to be very polite. He has to listen to you with all ears. He has to be very patient.
Mhm.
And very important, he has to give solution to your problems.
Right.
If you're coming to an HR, you actually come looking for a solution. If the HR person is not being able to resolve your issues or give you certain directions, then
Right.
you will never come to that person. So people crossing supervisors, crossing their managers, if they have come to you in HR with their problem, you have to solve that problem. It can be a personal problem, it can be a professional problem. If they have come to you, they have come to you with a reason. You'll have to listen, understand that person. But if there are constraints and not being able to solve that problem or not aware what to do, you'll have to buy time and say, give me some time, I'll come back to you. And within that specified time, come back, go back to that person. After all, what I said in the starting of the discussion, that the role of the HR is that we are the guardian, the guardians of the employees.
Right.
We are the guardians, right? After parents, if they're looking for somebody, it's the human resources. So we have to do parenting also if required. We have to be absolutely soft spoken, very polite. We cannot lose patience. There are people who are in HR and they become impatient. It is not the right job for them. They are not the right fit. You cannot lose your patience. You will get calls middle of the night. If an employee is unwell, the employee has every right to call you at the middle of the night and say, I'm not well, what should I do? You'll have to reach out and help out. There are ways and means, and I have done it myself. So there are ways and means. So HR is synonymous with culture building. HR is synonymous with role model. And looking to that, people will understand the organization because HR is the first place, the department, the office, the person, the human resource associates, the human resource manager are the first people when a potential employee comes and meets. I hope this answers.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Next question is, you have seen every year you have seen lot many students coming to IHMs and giving them training. Now, during all these years, what trends have changed as far as I should not say the quality of the students, but the attitude of the students that are coming to be professional in hospitality industry? Because we have often seen when the students get hired with the hospitality, especially the freshers, they always complain that we have a long hour of like duty but less salary. So how the institutes like IHM and others during the training should handle these kind of students? Is there any change in the or shift in the attitude of the students that are getting into this particular profession?
Thank you. Again, a very important and pertinent questions you have asked. I'm very thankful that you are coming up with the right questions. And this will cover up everything if I have missed out in the discussion. Thank you. So, importantly, we have to understand, right? Generations before us,
Mhm.
when they have worked and when the country had got independence, I'm talking about 70s, the country attained independence in 1947.
Right,
So till about 1970, 75, if people were getting a job, they were doing the job to earn a living.
right,
So they had salaries. They were trying to get kind of food for the family, and that was the life. I'm talking about an average middle class family because most of the students who study service industry were actually from middle classes and from small towns. So that generation they worked for money to ensure that you have food on the table. Then once that was done, mostly the generation that we had that started building their own houses.
Gee,
The next generation had both food and houses, so they started getting into luxury. They started getting into comfort zone.
right.
And the current generation, because they have house, they have food, they have luxury, they have comfort, they are reluctant to any kind of pressure. There has been a lot of change in the attitude of people. We don't blame them. If you have everything in your house, if you go to a five-star hotel almost 4 times in a month, why should you go and train in a five-star hotel now? You already know the culture there. So people from starting from where they're working for food on the table, now people are working, I'm just associated with the brand. I don't need to work.
Right.
So now we'll have to deal with these youngsters, is this with generation differently.
Gee,
So we have to understand the basic why people do hotel management in IHMs or any other colleges is we'll have to train them in accepting the service attitude. What is
mm,
the service attitude? Service attitude means that we never say no to anything,
right.
right? So when you're not saying no to anything, we are accepting everything. And that's why today, if you look at around you, we have students who have done IHMs, hotel management, are into every service sector,
Yeah.
hotels, restaurants, which are our, you know, it's always there.
True.
They're in banking, they're in airlines, they're in navy, they're in financial sectors, they're in retails. So everything where you need somebody to handle a customer, handle a client in a car sale, they're everybody there. And people who are in the hotels, they have accepted that there might be a little long hours. I was, as I told you, I was with Taj. So I can say in Taj, we were very strict. And in the human resources department, we used to track the punch in and punch out time of every employee. We are used to track their monthly offs. And if they were not getting their monthly offs, which was supposed to be taken, We used to speak to the HOD, we used to speak to the manager, the general manager, and ensure that the person gets a compensatory off and gets his full quota offs and only do 9 to 10 hours of duty. Similarly, for trainees also, right? That's also was ensured that they are comfortable, they have a learning environment, and they're treated with respect because they are brand ambassadors, and definitely they would do a 9 to 10 hours of duty, not more than
Right.
that.
Right.
But with retails coming in, with call centers, BPOs coming in, with financial services coming in, and our people, our students being very competent, their communication skills are better than any place. And because they're hotel management graduates, you don't need to pay much. You hire them. You see in financial sectors, especially in banking and financial institutions, if you're hiring an MBA graduate for IIM, their salary is not less than 30 lakhs, 40 lakhs per annum. Whereas if you're taking an equally capable hotel management graduate, maybe their salary starts around 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, but the output would be same. And the reason being, a person from the service industry, hotel management backgrounds, knows that I have to work hard to ensure that I am the best. I can prove myself that I'm worthy of this job. That person has a never say no attitude, will be always there serving people. Of course, I do understand and accept the salary which our students should have been paid is not being given as of now. But if you look to the various salary revisions and the various changes that has happened through the years, over the years, and what I am seeing this year, because I have seen Taj, Oberoi, Park Hotel, ITC, Marriott, all coming for campus interviews, they have started increasing their salary level, understanding that their salary has to be competent to
Right.
match up other sectors of the service industry, which is fashion, retails, financial institutions. So the salary levels for hospitality is going up.
Right. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You have answered this question perfectly and very well and well answered. Other question that I want to ask is, sir, about academia industry interface that we say, and also associated to this is that syllabus upgradation, especially post pandemic. And why I'm asking this question is because technology aspect is also associated with this. Uh, Being technology now playing important role in service industry, especially AI and other technology advancements. So how hospitality units they are seeing the upgradation of this layby and also bringing the industry experts for the students training so that they can get the first hand information of technology upgradation.
Again, I'm so thankful that you are asking all relevant and pertinent questions, right? And this actually, the discussion is, I feel that will be very fruitful when, you know, uh, people who go through this discussion and share their views. I'm sure it will be very, very fruitful. So, see, technology is very, very important part of our life. What used to happen by going to a booking counter and booking a ticket is now can be done with an ease over a mobile. While you're walking on the street, you can just open an app and get things done. So technology, what it has done is it has made things accessible for us. It has made things convenient for us. It has made things absolutely easy and delightful for us. So we welcome technology in the service industry, and we want people to be technology savvy because that only actually eases your entire experience, a seamless experience. So most of the hotels you see now can be booked through an app of their own or some third party, we call OTT platforms. So there are a lot of technology which has been coming to the industry. There is one technology which is uh, just off the records wanted to tell you, it is being developed where a company discussed with me that
Right.
they were making a pair of glasses which the receptionist needs to put, and it will be with a facial recognition. So if a
Okay.
repeat guest has come to that particular hotel, who has either stayed in that hotel or any of the hotel in that group whose data is available for records, then that name of the guest, his photo, his details would feature invisibly in one of the glasses, and the receptionist can actually address that person by name and say, welcome Mr. So and so, welcome to the hotel. And that what technology is going to become. It will be completely digitalized in some days, and it will be very easy for us to operate. There are multiple reports which one needs to generate because we are in that kind of business. I think technology with the use of softwares have made it very simple to keep those reports very handy, which are used for audit purposes. For example, registration card. So, in small hotels, you will see there is still a registration book or a diary, which is a
Yes.
huge book,
Registers. Yeah.
right? But wherein certain hotels, they have started app-based registration. So you click on the hotel app, put in your details, submit one of your ID cards, and you send in. It is simply it's come to the hotel app. So you're easily checked in. So technology is extremely important. And
Right.
what we have done in hotel management colleges, we have actually invited experts from the industry
Right.
who are bridging this gap between institute curriculum with the advancement of technology in the industry. So
Mhm.
they are now giving lectures, giving some demonstrations, sharing some ideas, right? And making the students understand the importance of technology and how it can be used. I hope this answers the question.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you so much for answering the question. One last question I would like to ask you, sir. If you can tell our audience that we want to ask you what advice do you have for HR professionals looking to advance their career in service industry, especially for those in the mid-level or entry-level positions?
Thank you for giving this opportunity to speak on this particular question. And I, as I told you, I had a long career in human resources. I think this is one of the finest department. I would prefer saying this is the best department because this gives an opportunity to connect with each and every employee. They will always know you, you will always know them, and they will always remain connected to you, no matter where you are, after you have hired them, spoken to them. And it gives an immense pleasure when you see that these, your recruits, have grown and they have got promoted. So it's a thankless job. That is what first we have to understand. Do not expect people that you will be appreciated at times, right? It's a
Right.
thankless job. We'll have to accept that this is my role is, and I have to do my job, whether I get a thank you or not. That is the first rule number one. Do
Ji.
not expect appreciation. If you do something good, people will say, "ये तो मेरे नसीब में था, ये तो मेरा होना ही था, I have done it." If
हाँ
you do
जी.
something, carry out some instructions,
Yes.
not your choice, but carry out something instruction which is adverse,
हाँ जी.
then people will say HR is bad.
Hmm.
Accept that. You're
Okay.
only playing a role.
Ji.
So certain qualities is have patience.
Right, sir.
You have to be extremely patient. You have to be extremely polite. You have to be extremely understanding. You have to be a good listener. And you have to give solutions. You should be solution driven. You
Right.
cannot try to avoid the problem, because if you're trying to send the problem to somebody, it will come back to you. So you will have to give a solution, and most importantly, you'll have to be kind. If you're kind and think like the person is thinking on his place, being in his shoes, if I were in his place and if he's asking this question, if I ask that question to me, what is the correct solution, you'll be able to give that advice.
जी,
So look for a very good career, because it is one of the very important department. I think, when you connect to senior leadership team, when you talk to the HODs, and when you talk to the general manager, or to the area head, they will take your advice very seriously,
mhm,
because the HR manager is also the ethics
mhm,
counselor. The HR manager is also the custodian for culture and brand. The HR manager is also the guardian of the employees. The HR manager is also the person who knows the policy and processes. So anything that you comment and say, one, you'll have to comment and say something which is factual
जी,
with the correct words so that it does not hurt sentiments.
mhm.
You'll have to be extremely polite, but put forward your point which needs to be understood by the other person, and they will definitely appreciate your advice and they will take it very seriously coming from your chair. So that's all my advice to all of you.
Yeah. So thank you so much, sir. I would like to say this that we often met with the people. So there are two things. One is having the knowledge, and one is having that knowledge and knowing how to give it to the other person. So during this entire 1 hour webinar with you, sir, today, what we feel we have met today with a person who is appropriately, perfectly fit for this service industry. This industry suits your personality, and this is a very simple yet methodological and effective information you have given to our viewers today. And we are very delighted to conduct this webinar with you. And this is a very important webinar for all the students, those who are belonging to service industry, and all the educators, those who are educating the students to pursue into this industry. So we, from our heart, we felt really, really happy to be with you today, and thankful to you that you have come today. And thank you very much once again.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kapoor, and it was a delight to share the insights, my experience with this industry, which I told you is almost for 3 decades now.
Ji.
I'm very much glad to be part, and if my whatever I have said and discussion and the advices and suggestions which I have made, if that can better a person's life, can motivate a person, I'd be extremely, extremely happy and delighted. I'm definitely open if somebody would like to connect through you for
Right.
any questions, anything. I'm definitely open and all there for all of you. Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, our lovely audience, for connecting us. We'll be meeting tomorrow at the same time with a new topic and a new guest. Thank you so much. Good
Thank you.
evening. Namaste.